This facility has kind of raised those expectations even more to say, if your library is doing its job and it's got its finger on the pulse of the community, you'll find yourself in the library somewhere.
Exactly.
There's something here for you. And if we don't have something here for you, we're not doing our job.
Yeah.
It's time for another episode of I Am Northwest Arkansas, the podcast covering the intersection of business, culture, entrepreneurship, and life in general here in the Ozarks. Whether you are considering a move to this area or trying to learn more about the place you call home, we've got something special for you. Here's our host, Randy Wilburn.
Hey folks, and welcome to another episode of I Am Northwest Arkansas. I am your fearless host, Randy Wilburn, and I am here today. And I got to tell you folks, it took me a while to get this appointment and this meeting, but I'm here with the executive director of the Fayetteville Public Library, otherwise known as David Johnson. David, thank you so much for meeting with me today and joining us on this podcast. I got to tell you, I love this place. I love the library. It is outstanding, and I don't know what you're doing, what you're serving up here, but it's right in a million different ways. And I just got to say, I'm kind of giddy today, just being here, being able to talk with you and learn more about this building and what it represents, not just for the people of Fayetteville, but for Northwest Arkansas and beyond. So, first of all, I'd love for you just to tell our audience a little bit about yourself and your superhero origin story, and why you're here.
Yeah, well, thank you, Rand. I'm honored to be here. I'm honored for you to have interest in the library and wanting to help us tell our story. Personally, I was born in Texas. Don't hold that against me. I was there only for a year before my parents moved to Little Rock, Arkansas.
Okay.
So I was born and raised, went to public schools in Little Rock, and came to Fayetteville in 1985. Right. Was a university student, have 2 degrees here. And then I had to venture away to another SEC school at Tennessee to get my library degree.
Okay.
I grew up in a household. My dad was a journalist for the Arkansas Gazette, and my mother was a librarian. Words, books, literature, arts, and culture were just things that were always at your fingertips in our house. My dad was the rock and roll critic for the Arkansas Gazette, so music was such an integral part of everything that we did. And so in the back of my mind, that percolated as I came to school, really not knowing what I wanted to do. I knew a college degree was a path towards, having a lifestyle and things that would maybe exceed what my parents were able to provide for me and that I would be able to do for my children. So yeah. I knew college was important. I didn't know what I wanted to do. And so I bounced around through several majors and wound up in communication. But it was during the course of getting my master's degree, I thought I wanted to be a professor, but I really didn't have anything to say. All of my peers who went on to get a PhD, they really had something to say, and I didn't. So I finished my master's program and was sort of seeking something. I didn't know what I had skills. It's hard to sell. Yeah, I can communicate well. Well, tell me what you can do. I was down at West Ark Community College, which is now the University of Arkansas at Fort Smith, teaching classes, and I had my regular Sunday call to my mom when long-distance rates were cheap. And, over the course of that, she could sense that I was kind of seeking, wanted to do something more, and she said, well, have you ever thought about going to library school? because I always talked about how I liked the hunt more than the kill. I liked to go into the library to find the materials more than I did sitting down and having to read them. I had the best bibliography of stuff that I found, less strong arguments in whatever I was writing. So she said that, and I started thinking, that kind of that fits. Yeah. And I thought, well, I'll just go back to the University of Arkansas and get that degree. And she said, you can't do that. They don't offer that at the University of Arkansas, but you can use the academic common market that Arkansas participates in that says if your school doesn't offer the degree, you can go to another school for in-state tuition and get the degree. Yeah. So the University of Tennessee is where I landed. I still thought I wanted to be close to academia, so I wound up down at LSU, teaching and working in a library in one of their small community colleges in Eunice, Louisiana, right outside of Lafayette. And I got married, and my wife and I, she was from Little Rock as well and had come to the university. And we were down there, and after about 2 years, we realized there was something missing. We wanted to do a little more, and a little more closer to home, closer to family. So I saw an ad for a job at the Fayetteville Public Library when we were located over on Dixon Street. They needed someone to manage their reference department and genealogy. So I came up and interviewed, and I called Holly and I said, I hope you don't mind, but I just took a job. And so we were just excited to get back to Fayetteville. We didn't know why. Mm-hmm. We didn't think we were just chasing our college dreams and trying to reconnect to what was the excitement of school, but we just knew Fayetteville was special. And when we came back, we immediately said, yeah, this was the right decision. So I was at the Fayetteville Public Library for 2 years when Holly got pregnant. Okay. We decided to start a family, and I wanted her to have some choice. She was working as a grant writer in development at Washington Regional Medical Center. I wanted her to have the choice of being a mom, staying at home, or continuing her career and doing what that would take for the family. But I knew making $24,000 a year was not going to allow us much choice. So I learned about a position at Tyson Foods.
Small company.
Small little company right up the road. And they had they needed somebody to come in and manage their call center. Mm-hmm. And I was able to convince the hiring manager at the time, a gentleman named Stan Schmid. I told him, I said, look, Stan, call center work is no different than reference center work because it's really about people. Mm-hmm. You got to fix the person first and then find out what their problem is. Yeah. People with a certain sense of urgency, or they just want some compassionate voice on the other end to understand their pain. And so if you fix that person first, you can move on, whether you're fixing a box of computer wires or whether you're helping somebody find reference material for the research they're doing. It's really about people. He bought it, and he hired me. And so I spent the next 15 years at Tyson Foods, and to the point at which we have 2 children, both now who are at the University of Missouri at Columbia. But there was a point at which Holly and I kind of became more like taxi cabs and ATMs. Yeah. And Holly was able to go back to work. And that kind of changed our situation, the economics of the household. And I was at a point to where I was beginning to think about libraries again. And could I ever get back to library work?
It's kind of like a first love for you.
Yeah, it was. Yeah. And lo and behold, I woke up one morning and I found out that this position was open. And so I had a little soul searching. I called the predecessor, Louise Shaper, who is responsible for this beautiful building and facility. I called Louise and she told me what she knew, and so I decided to throw my hat in the ring. Wow. And so after 15 years of my career at Tyson, I decided to get back into libraries, and I have not looked back. It's been been a great journey, and it's one of those places that you wake up every day and you look forward to going to work. You look forward to serving your community. You look forward to the people that you work with and those that you see that you're helping, no matter what their station in life and what their need is. So that's how I got back here.
Well, that's awesome. I mean, that certainly is a great story, and I know there are other aspects of it that play into this and to why you're here. And as I, for the benefit of the audience, as I look around, David's office, I mean, he has just piles and piles of books. And I thought I was the only one. But, I mean, you see I got my bag from Harvard over here with all my books. And I carry that here all the time now just because I don't know what I'm going to decide to take home.
That's right.
And I just took 2 books just this morning. So I'm always taking something home. My wife laughs at me, but I'm always like, I got a new book.
That's the art of discovery.
Exactly. It is. That's the beauty of it. But I think your office is part of the art of discovery because you've got some great books in here alone. So, and I love the way that your office just peers out into the into part of the adult section here where the books are and all of your books on hold. If you ever walk into the library and you walk down past the check-in area, that you'll see David's office there, and it looks out over everything. And I think that's actually appropriate for someone in your role to keep their eye on the prize in terms of what you're trying to do. And I know even before we started recording this, you were talking about the importance of books and how it's kind of like almost a great equalizer, if you will, for our society. And I'm kind of just fine tuning the words that you shared, but I was moved by what you were telling me, and so it just seems like this library is really special, and I have talked ad nauseum about the Fayetteville Public Library on a couple of other episodes of this podcast, just because I came from Boston. Boston Public Library, the BPL as we call it up there, is the standard bearer for libraries.
Absolutely.
And that as a librarian,
absolutely.
that. And so I was always impressed, and it was nothing like going into those hallowed halls. And it was different because it was like, wow, this is the first of anything as far as public libraries go in the country. But I look at what Fayetteville Public Library looks like today and what, to me, it represents for the future of reading, for the future of books, for the future of a central place where people can come from all walks of life and have shared experiences, different experiences. It seems like that's what you're trying to pull off here at the Fayetteville Public Library.
Yeah, and a lot of that is a reflection of some of our changing definitions of literacy.
Right.
And when you look at the central role that libraries have played in fostering literacy, and those early definitions, if you ask somebody, they would say, well, literacy is reading and writing and basic numeracy. And you find that in the book collections, and your library was really kind of transactional. You would come to the library, you would find the materials you need, you'd go check them out, and you'd take them home. So the library was kind of predicated on a place where you come to take things.
Right.
Bring them back, and you get to renew your offerings every time. But as we've moved forward as a society and a culture, and in particular here in Fayetteville, the definitions of literacy are dynamic. They're fluid. So when we talk about literacy, medical literacy, we talk about legal literacy, social literacy. I like to think about, in a world where we're using 3D printers to make things, that we're doing tactile literacy. So your library, if it's going to be the central place to help support those things, it needs to change and grow as your society and culture changes. The challenges of today, the young people and the people in career transitions and the people who are just trying to stay abreast of the demands of living in this community, in this space, require a library to be much more than just an inventory of materials.
Right.
When you look at the number of programs that we offer now to connect people, not just to containers of knowledge that come in book form, but in people's minds and hearts, and connecting you to the individuals that can help teach you encourage you, motivate you, guide you. When we look at the shift in the multiple, as we mentioned, DVDs and music CDs, and now we are a space where you can come and make things with 3D printers and robotics and things like that. Libraries got to be in those spaces. We're free and open to anybody in the community. We're one of the last institutions on the planet that is purely democratic. It doesn't care where you are in your station in life. We have something for you.
Right.
And we're something here to help you meet those challenges of today. And I think if a library is doing its job well, keeping its finger on the pulse of its community, you'll see that. And you'll see people from all over coming to find whatever it is they need or seek or want entertainment. They'll come to your library.
Yeah.
It's the librarian's job to listen and to reflect.
Okay.
And give you back some of the things that you need.
Yeah, that is, I love that. And, I will say this, just speaking collectively about your team that you have here, I got to say that every person that I've ever encountered, and folks, those of you listening to the podcast, I probably come in this library 3 to 5, if not 6 times a week. So I frequent the library. I know what I'm talking about here, but I got to say that every librarian, every person that's here, from the people that are just keeping the chairs organized and nice and neat and clean to the people in the reference desk area, everybody's super friendly, super helpful. You have an amazing staff here that really is just, how can I help you?
Yeah.
And I think that speaks volumes, obviously, to your leadership, but it gets back to this idea that I think people have caught up with that idea that you just shared about why people are here in the first place and how to serve them.
Yeah, it's a world-class staff.
Yeah.
I will make no hesitation to say you won't find a better group of librarians and dedicated people, whether they're facilities people keeping us in opening day condition every day, to the individuals who are there to help you find whatever it is you need, meet you where you are and have empathy and help you get to the resources you want. It's interesting. So Jeff Shearer was the architect for this facility, and Jeff served on the International Board of Library Architects, and he traveled all over the world. And I remember the day he sent me a text from someplace far in Europe, and it was just out of the blue. I hadn't spoken to Jeff in years, and he said, "I now fully believe you have the best library staff in the world." And boy, you're talking about making your swell up with pride.
Right.
And yet still you take that as the challenge.
Yeah.
And so how do we continue to grow in a rapidly growing community? How do we maintain the integrity and desire and hiring the right people, the people with the servant heart, who are really here for the people,
right.
No matter what their role. But yeah, this is a great staff.
Yeah.
And everybody likes to talk about the building is beautiful, but
Yeah.
But I tell you, the people are beautiful too.
Yeah, well, obviously the building couldn't go without the people.
Right.
Right? So,
Absolutely.
that's the thing. Nothing is ever out of place here. When you come in here, everything seems to be in order. It doesn't matter what day of the week it is. That's the other thing that I really like about it. And so tell me just a little bit about, the offerings that you have here. I know there's a lot to be excited about. The kids area is amazing. You can rent everything from you can take out fishing rods. You can do, just stuff that you wouldn't think is available to you at a library. It's available to you. So I like that.
Yeah, it's just trying again to reflect back to people where they are and what their interests are, whether that being kids who are playing on Minecraft and learning basic preliminary engineering and hand-eye coordination skills, as to others who are looking for the next Harry Potter. Maybe the next author that's going to really set them on fire.
Yeah.
So not only do we try to connect people to collections, but we talked a little bit about connecting them to the people and the authors and the creators of these materials.
Yeah.
So we have a very vibrant literary festival in October that really embraces the school-age children and the things that they're interested in, as well as adult programs. We connect them to Jack Gantos and Lois Lowry. We had 900 people here for Lois Lowry.
Wow.
But it's connecting them to the creators of the magic, and getting to ask them questions and be in the same room. And there's a certain empowering element to that. One of the most important comments I've had, we had LeVar Burton here.
Okay.
And he had just completed writing his children's book, and fresh off of the latest season of Reading Rainbow. And he had asked, as part of his visit, was he wanted to meet with the second graders from the schools with the highest free and reduced lunch population. So we worked with our great partnership with our public schools, and so we gathered those students here, and he was giving his presentation, and it was just magical because I was seeing this actor from Star Trek: The Last Generation and Roots, the movie, and all these other things, and these kids were connecting to him as the Reading Rainbow guy,
Right.
But there was a lady who stopped by and stuck her head in the door. And she asked, "What's going on in here today?" And I said, "Well, we have LeVar Burton. He's speaking to some students who," I explained that they were from the schools with the highest free and reduced lunch. And she squared up and she looked me in the eyes and she said, "There'll be a child who will go to college today as a result of this right here."
Yeah.
And when you think about that, you think about the power
right.
of what we try to do, and you never know when that light bulb will go on, and that inspiration for those who will say, today I've decided I'm going to be a doctor. Today I've decided I'm going to be the mayor. I'm going to go on. I'm going to be the president. I'm going. You never know where those dreams and ideals will take them. But when you offer them those special events and collections that they could walk out of there and then go get 15 books to take home.
Right. Like my kids do. My kids come home with I'm like, are you there's got to be a limit. Sometimes my wife comes in with 30 books. I'm like, what's going on here?
Read fast, kids.
Yeah, exactly. That's funny. That's funny.
And it's happening not just at the grade school level children. It's happening as well with our teens who come here, and they come after school to meet and study. To collaborate together on projects, to meet tutors here. And then it's happening at the next level. We have college students who come here on dead day during finals weeks during the school year. I kid you not, you literally cannot find a place to sit in the library.
Yeah.
We actually will bring out extra tables with power strips for students to sit in the walker room and other places so that they can plug their laptops in and study.
Yeah.
This has just become a go-to place for university students. And then you take that all the way through, and so we've got the entrepreneurs and the gig economy class who are here working. They may not have a traditional office, but they can come here and meet clients. They can come here, check out a study room and have conference calls. We have professionals who are counselors, architects, and everyone finding their place here at the library.
Yeah.
And then you just kind of keep moving up the socioeconomic and the demographic, and you find people from Butterfield who come here with their transportation to hear a master gardener speak, or maybe there's someone talking about retirement programs or credit counseling, and it's just our job, our goal is to just bring as much as we can that reflects back what are the demands of being a citizen in this community.
Yeah.
And they're as diverse as the people are diverse. And so we have our work cut out for us. But when you see the light bulb go off, or you hear the comment like that, you think, job well done.
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah. No, that's definitely one where you can pat yourself on the back and be like, man, okay, we're doing this something right.
Yeah.
So no, that's awesome. I mean, this is just, I'm just getting excited listening to this, and you're right. I mean, actually, I can attest to the fact that, I recently left a corporate role that I had to start my own business, and I have utilized the study rooms as a place to work and to plan and to meet with some folks. And again, I got to say that, it has been nothing short of amazing just having access to that type of resource.
Yeah.
And it really has been helpful. It's been a blessing, and you're absolutely right. There's almost something for everyone here. in some way, shape, or form.
Yeah,
so I think that's really nice.
And the demands of being in a community that's experiencing this just exponential growth.
Yeah.
I hear you various numbers from 54 people a day moving to Northwest Arkansas and beyond. And so we've elevated what you can expect from a library, but how do we continue to do that in a future where there will be 120,000 or 130,000 people in Fayetteville alone?
Yeah.
And so how do we continue to challenge and provide our community? And so that really led us to our discussions around how do we grow. We've got a brand new library. We're in opening day condition every day, so it looks brand new, it feels brand new, and the people are fresh, but we know we're being loved to death.
Right.
We are at capacity. And so how do you take on that challenge of talking to a community and having a conversation to say, we know you just paid for and built this brand new library, but it's already too small.
Yeah.
And it's going to get worse because the community's growing so fast. And so we began that conversation in 2012, and I felt like it really would start with a master plan. So how do we step back and take a measure of where are we today and where do we want to go? What do we want to do going into the future? This library, the Blair building that we live in now, was as a result of 36 public input sessions. Community engagement really drove the design. It really drove the sense of it being the people's building and the people's library. And so when we thought about our master plan, the only thought was, how do we get back in touch with the people? How do we meet with everyone and kind of say, throw yourself into the future, tell us what you need, tell us what we're not doing today, and let's think about how we address that. So we came out of a master plan with a understanding of, given the growth, given the 80% of the community are already library card holders, we were the best library in America, acknowledged by Library Journal in 2005. So we've raised the bar. Where do we go?
Yeah.
So we knew we needed about 80,000 more square feet of library service space. Where we were going to do that, we didn't know. But we knew that to provide the places that we needed, we knew we needed a bigger children's library. In fact, we knew we needed to double it, the square footage. We knew we needed more meeting rooms and more space, and we needed to 5 times as many as we have today.
Okay.
We knew that the Walker Room was inadequate for the level of visitors and speakers and distinguished guests. So we needed a big room to house upwards of 700 people at a time.
Wow.
So we started kind of tracking these things out, and but we didn't know where we were going to do it. Within months, we've got wind that the city hospital property behind us was they were closing the hospital and it was going to be for sale.
Wow.
And so it was destiny. It was just there is the property. So we, went through the bidding process and won the bid thanks to some special people here in town. I'd like to just quickly mention Specialized Realty has been very good to us, and Jeremy Hudson and their leadership and understanding the role of the library. We were bidding on the same property, they withdrew their bid so that the library could get that property, and we'll be forever thankful to them.
Oh,
for
absolutely.
That.
Yeah.
So we realized that property was available. We still heard the questions of why not a branch. In fact, when the library moved from over on Dixon Street and the planning was going on, there were a lot of people who wanted branch libraries. So we did a study with the University of Arkansas in 2007 and developed what we call the 15-minute drive time halo, which through interviews with patrons and others, they said if we have to drive more than 15 minutes to the library, that makes it difficult. We might not go. So we knew That was the outer limits. So we plotted where all of our circulations and car holders were. And we realized that more than 80% of them, we used Google Maps to measure drive times. We realized that over 80% of them were still within a 10-minute drive to the library. So that helped us come to the decision of, we've got this property available, let's just double down and increase this space and hold that branch conversation for the future.
Yeah.
We're not quite there yet.
Yeah.
So that was our decision to stay here. Then it started rolling. But, so then we kind of, so through the master plan, we had some design ideas, but we knew we had to pay for it. We knew that it was a temporary 1 cent sales tax for 18 months that raised $18 million for this building. But we knew that if this was going to happen, we needed the support of the people.
Yeah.
And so we began socializing the idea of expansion. And anybody that comes here will admit, yeah, you need more meeting rooms because I can never get one. Or yeah, you don't have room on the shelves for any more books. How are you going to, the building was designed for 300,000 materials and you're full.
Yeah.
And there are waiting lists for me to get a hold of some of the popular materials. How can you have more? So we began socializing the idea. The master plan, we had 16 public input meetings that went into that. We met with the youth. We met with parents. We met at McNair School, other places to kind of get feedback from as wide a group as we could. So we came out with a good plan. Then we needed to raise the money. And so in the summer of 2016, we really began campaigning hard for a millage increase, a property mill. The design ideas were going to place the project right at around $50 million.
Wow.
We felt like we could not responsibly ask the citizens of this community to shoulder the burden of all of that through a tax increase. So we tried to balance it out, what we thought was fair, what we thought was supportable. Mm-hmm. And so we moved forward in August of 2016 with a bond initiative that raised $27 million. Wow. That bond and that tax will sunset. It will go away. But we also knew that we weren't going to build something that we couldn't operate and maintain. So the deal was, if you say, yes, we need to expand the public library, you had to say yes to and we also need to raise the funds to run it.
Right. Which means more people.
More people.
Right.
You're doubling the size of this facility. You need more people. You need more, just the infrastructure costs. You need a little more for electricity. You need a little more for cleaning products, carpeting, painting, and so forth. So our comeback to the community was that not only do we need 1.2 mills for the building that'll raise $27 million, but we need about 1.5 mills to operate and maintain it.
Wow.
Both the shortfall we were experiencing here as well as the expansion. And, this community stepped up. They asked very hard questions, very honest questions, but at the end of the day, the end of the election day, they supported expanding their library.
Yeah.
And so then the rest was in the details of design and trying to move forward at that level. And so we're now in the construction phase. And
when's the completion date?
If everything lines up correctly, so we still have $23 million to privately raise.
Okay.
And so our capital campaign is and we're being successful there, and we've got Jim Blair just made a super generous donation of $2 million.
Wow.
And
if any of our listeners want to give to the capital campaign, what's the easiest way for them to do that?
Call Sarah Dupria. You can call 856-7000 and ask to speak to Sarah Dupria.
Okay, and I'll put that information in the show notes so everybody has that. But we'll make sure that those of you that want to give and want to, I know I voted for the expansion, but certainly I want to be able to give to this campaign because I think it does make a difference. And when you walk into the library, if you're walking in to the right, there is kind of like a wall of donors and people that have given to this of all levels, not just the Jim Blairs of the world, but everybody that are a part of this. And so every little bit can help. And those of you that are listening to this that appreciate good books and certainly if you spent any time here in this library, you know that any investment is going to good use here. So I certainly want to encourage you. This is not a commercial for the Fayetteville Public Library.
But I'll take it.
Yes, but it is an encouragement to be a part of what they're doing to expand here. And you know, it's something to be said. I mean, I've heard knocks. You know, I was driving with somebody this morning, and they said to me, "Yeah, you know, I've heard people say, why would they build a Crystal Bridges in the Ozarks? I mean, of all places, it should have been in New York or it should have been in L.A." And I'm like, well, no, not really. I mean, you know, the heart of this country is the heart of the country,
right? And
to build something like Crystal Bridges, where you have some of the greatest pieces of artwork in the world that are held in that repository in the Ozarks here in Northwest Arkansas, it does make a difference. And you know, it was almost like a field of dreams. If you build it, they will come. 4.2 million people have come. Yeah. And I would say the same thing for the Fayetteville Public Library. Yes, it is housed here in Fayetteville, but it serves the greater area.
600,000 people a year, 185 people an hour.
There you go. So, I mean, it's more than just Fayetteville. And yes, those of us that live in Fayetteville, you know, can be a part of it, but other people are benefiting from this as well. Because I talk to people from Bentonville that come down here on a regular basis to visit the library.
We talk about, we like to think of Crystal Bridges as the crown jewel of the North, and the Fayetteville Public Library is the crown jewel of the South of Northwest Arkansas corridor.
Yeah.
You know, we both serve our communities, and we both are open and embrace anyone who's willing to come in the door and help us help you.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, no, I love that. So, I could go on and on because there's so much good stuff here. Tell me just a little bit about, because I know that this is an important aspect of the library, and I wanted to share this with the listeners, the genealogy department here.
Yeah.
Can you just speak a little bit to, I mean, why that came about and how big of an audience that serves?
Yeah, you know, the genealogy department is part of called the Grace Keith Genealogy Collection. It is recognized in a 4-state region as one of the strongest genealogy collections available. We're very, very fortunate to have Mickey Clements as our genealogy librarian, plus all the adult library staff upstairs are well-versed in helping people connect. But, you know, the whole idea of connecting to family, understanding where am I from, and that research aspect has really, really taken off in America. You know, our collection alone has seen about a 54% increase in use. Part of it is because you can also do some of these things online with Ancestry.com and 23andMe and others, but there is a portion of our population that is curious about our origins. Where did we come from? Yeah. Who did we... I know in my own family, on my mother's side, the Chitwood family, I mean, we've got the Book of Chitwood. My grandfather and his others have heavily researched this all the way back to the Battle of Hastings in 1066.
Wow.
And so there's just something about that connection. And then when you can actually put your hands on some of those birth records or pieces of artifacts that relate to your family, or help you understand where you are. If you're new to a community and you want to come in and do some local history work to try to understand what it was the Battle of Fayetteville up at the Bloody Corners, and how did that come apart, and who was involved in that. So genealogy and history help us connect. And our collection does an admirable job. In the future, we're going to have its own space. Okay. Part of the expansion will be creation of a genealogy center that will both enhanced access to the collection, but kind of provide a quieter place, a more isolated space. We'll have some additional genealogists on staff to help people begin that search or complete that search wherever they are in the journey.
Yeah, so you don't necessarily have to be from this area to benefit from that, right?
No, not at all.
Okay. All right.
We have people who come over often from Oklahoma, Missouri, Texas, Kansas, certainly people from South Arkansas and others who may have had family come through this area. Mm-hmm. And what's interesting is because as Fayetteville has become much more of a traveler destination, people who are aware of their history may know of an uncle or somebody who was born there, and so they want to just come in and look and see how they can find those other branches of the roots of the family through there. So, it's a special place.
Oh, well, good. That's awesome. I love hearing about that, and certainly, hopefully, some of our listening audience will take advantage of what the library has to offer. So, I guess as we wind this up, just tell me outside of the library, because I mean, again, you left Fayetteville for a minute. You went and studied over in Tennessee and Knoxville, and
Correct.
Came back. And what makes Northwest Arkansas special in your mind?
Well, I think it's clearly the people,
Okay.
and the sense of place. You will not meet a friendlier group of people. I see more smiles in Northwest Arkansas than I just came back from a vacation in Arizona, and we drove, and we're just a lot more smiles here in Northwest Arkansas in Fayetteville. And living in Little Rock, I saw sort of a bigger city take and the stresses and strains of that, and so there was a relaxed atmosphere here, and the beauty of the nature that's available to you, minutes away from being on a river, a creek, a hiking stream. And then you have the dynamic of the university and what it can bring. And so if you're into sports or if you're into culture and arts and the Walton Arts Center, I mean, it's all just this rich fabric of wherever you are and whatever you're interested in, there's a smiling face in the community to help you connect and help you find that fulfillment and that joy.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, so I'm going to put you on the spot here, and I said I wasn't going to do that, but I am. When you're not here, spending time in the library, where do you specifically, maybe to take your beautiful wife out to dinner? Where do you like to go frequent?
Go-to spots. Hugo's is a mainstay.
Yes, their French fries are good.
They are. There's something magical there. I found that when I was in college here, and it's magic is it's never changed.
Okay.
And I know what I'm getting, and I love what I'm getting.
Yes.
And so there, we also like Leverett Lounge.
Okay.
Hannah Withers does an amazing job. Hannah and Ben. It's an eclectic menu, but it's a small, intimate space. Again, smiling faces, happy service, good food. Those are some of our go-to places.
Yeah, the Leverett Lounge has been mentioned by quite a few people that I've already interviewed on this podcast, and so we're going to probably make a list.
Yeah,
a go-to
Woodstone,
list.
Pizza.
Woodstone, yes, very good.
Those guys down there. Jeremy, I really I like the atmosphere. I like the people. Again, there aren't many bad places to eat here in Fayetteville. Those are just a few that are my go-tos.
Okay, good. Well, I appreciate that. Well, thank you so much for taking the time, David, to meet with us. And again, I appreciate you working it into your schedule to have you on this podcast. I think for what you represent, what this library represents to the community and beyond, I think people need to know the whole story.
Sure.
And so I really appreciate you allowing me to tell that through this interview today. And so we thank you so much for joining us.
Yeah, Randy, it's been my pleasure. And I would love to come back and be on your program one more time as we either near the opening or maybe catch us in midstream when we're celebrating the opening of the new expansion.
That is already guaranteed. We will do another episode to follow up to expand upon this space that they're going to build. And like I said, I mean, it's a podcast, but at some point I have pictures of the construction site that I will share. But I think more importantly, people when they see the finished product, they're going to be blown away.
I agree.
Yeah. So,
thank you.
Well, thank you so much.
We hope you enjoyed this episode of I Am Northwest Arkansas. Check us out each and every week, available anywhere that great podcasts can be found. For show notes or more information on becoming a guest, visit IamNorthwestArkansas.com. We'll see you next week on I Am Northwest Arkansas.